The notification sound cut through the silence of Olivia Hart's small Brooklyn apartment at exactly 2:34 in the morning. She stared at her phone screen, her vision slightly blurred from the wine she had consumed over the past 3 hours. The empty bottle of Merlot sat accusingly on her coffee table, a witness to her evening of self-pity and poor decisions. Her finger had already pressed send before her brain could catch up with what she had done. The message was simple, almost innocent in its brevity, but absolutely catastrophic in its recipient. I know you probably don't even remember me, but I think about you every single day. You make coming to work worthwhile. The problem was not the message itself. The problem was the name at the top of the conversation thread. Nathan Cross, CEO. Olivia felt her stomach drop as reality crashed through her wine-induced haze. This could not be happening. Nathan Cross was not just any boss. He was the founder and chief executive officer of Sterling Innovations, a tech company valued at over $2 billion. He was the man whose face appeared on business magazine covers. He was 34 years old, brilliant, and completely out of her league. She was a marketing coordinator on the 7th floor, one of hundreds of employees who occupied the lower levels of the glass tower in downtown Manhattan. In her 3 years at Sterling Innovations, Nathan had spoken directly to her exactly 4 times. Once during her initial hiring interview, which had been conducted by Mr. Peterson but included a brief introduction to Nathan, twice in passing in the elevator, where he had smiled politely and asked how her day was going, and once during a company-wide meeting where he had acknowledged her question about the new product launch with a thoughtful response that made her heart race for days afterward. She had harbored a crush on him for nearly 2 years, ever since that company meeting where his passion for innovation had lit up the entire conference room, but she had never, ever planned to tell him, especially not through a drunk text message at 2:30 in the morning. Olivia scrambled for her phone, her hands shaking as she tried to figure out how to undo this disaster. Could she delete it? Would that even matter? The small check marks next to her message confirmed her worst fear. Delivered. Read. Her phone buzzed in her hand, and she nearly dropped it. A new message appeared beneath her mortifying confession. Olivia Hart, Marketing Department, 7th floor. I remember you very well. Are you all right? The impossible conversation. She read the message 3 times, her heart hammering against her ribs. He remembered her. Nathan Cross, CEO of a billion-dollar company, knew who she was. But more than that, he was not angry. He was not forwarding this to human resources. He was asking if she was okay. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Every instinct told her to apologize, to claim it was a mistake, to beg him to forget this ever happened. Instead, the wine loosened her usual careful filter. I'm so embarrassed. This was meant for someone else. I will have my resignation on your desk Monday morning. I am truly sorry, Mr. Cross. The 3 dots indicating he was typing appeared almost immediately. Olivia held her breath, waiting for the professional but firm response that would end her career at Sterling Innovations. Please do not resign. Everyone makes mistakes, Olivia. But I have to ask, who was this message really meant for? She stared at the question, her mind spinning. She could lie. She could claim it was meant for a friend, for her ex-boyfriend Brandon, who had broken her heart 6 months ago with his casual indifference to her dreams and ambitions. She could protect herself from the complete humiliation of the truth. But something about the late hour, the wine still warming her blood, and the unexpected kindness in his messages made her reckless. No one. I mean, it was meant for you. I just never meant to actually send it. I have had too much wine and too much time to think about how my ex-boyfriend was right when he said I care more about my job than relationships. Apparently, I care so much that I developed feelings for someone completely inappropriate and unattainable. She hit send before she could stop herself, then immediately wanted to throw her phone out the window. What was wrong with her? She had just confessed to having feelings for her CEO. This was not just embarrassing anymore. This was career suicide. But Nathan's response came quickly, and it was not what she expected.
Inappropriate, maybe. Unattainable? I would not be so sure about that. Can I call you? When reality shifts. Olivia's phone rang 30 seconds later. She stared at the screen, at Nathan Cross's name flashing across it, and seriously considered not answering. But curiosity and wine-induced courage made her swipe to accept the call. Hello? Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Olivia. His voice was different than she remembered from their brief interactions. Warmer, more personal. I need you to know something. That message was not a mistake in the way you think it was. I do not understand. She sat up straighter on her couch, her mind racing to make sense of his words. I notice you every single day. I notice when you arrive early and stay late working on campaigns that no one else believes in. I notice how you take the stairs instead of the elevator, and how you always stop to help the new employees find their way around. I notice that you bring coffee to the security guard every morning, and that you remember everyone's names, even the cleaning staff who work overnight. Olivia felt tears prick at her eyes, though whether from embarrassment or something else entirely, she could not say. Nathan continued, his voice dropping lower. I notice you, Olivia Hart, because I have been trying very hard not to notice you for the past year and a half, because you're brilliant and kind and dedicated, and because having feelings for an employee goes against every professional boundary I have ever set for myself. You have feelings for me? The words came out as barely a whisper. Yes, and I would very much like to see you right now. May I have your address? The leap of faith. Every rational thought in her mind screamed that this was impossible, that CEOs did not fall for marketing coordinators, that this was some wine-induced dream that she would wake from at any moment, mortified and unemployed. But there was something in Nathan's voice, a vulnerability that matched her own, that made her believe this might be real. She gave him her address. 25 minutes later, there was a knock at her door. Olivia had managed to change out of her pajamas into jeans and a simple sweater, had brushed her teeth and splashed cold water on her face in a futile attempt to sober up and look presentable. But nothing could have prepared her for the sight of Nathan Cross standing in her doorway. He wore dark jeans and a navy blue sweater, his usually perfectly styled hair slightly tousled as if he had been running his hands through it. His blue eyes found hers, and there was something in his expression that made her heart stop and start again in the space of a single breath. Hi, he said simply. Hi, she echoed, stepping back to let him enter her modest apartment. Nathan looked around, taking in the space that was so completely different from his world of boardrooms and penthouse offices. His eyes landed on the empty bottle of Merlot, then moved to the stack of marketing proposals on her dining table, the ones she had been working on during her personal time because she believed in them even when her department head did not. You were working tonight, Nathan observed, moving toward the table. I usually do on Friday nights. My ex-boyfriend used to hate it. He said I was married to my job. Nathan turned to face her, and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. Your ex-boyfriend was an idiot.
Olivia's small apartment felt even smaller with Nathan Cross standing in it. He seemed to fill the space with his presence, not in an overwhelming way, but in the manner that made her hyper-aware of every breath, every movement. She watched as he picked up one of her marketing proposals from the table, his eyes scanning the cover page with genuine interest. The Community Outreach Initiative, he read aloud, then looked up at her. Peterson rejected this last month, didn't he? Olivia nodded, surprised that Nathan knew about it. He said it was too risky, that we should stick with traditional marketing channels. But I think connecting with local communities could build authentic brand loyalty in ways that digital ads never could. Nathan set the proposal down carefully, his expression thoughtful. Peterson is good at maintaining the status quo, but innovation requires risk. This proposal is exactly the kind of thinking Sterling Innovations needs. He paused, then added quietly, It is exactly the kind of thinking I have been looking for. The weight of those words hung in the air between them. Olivia wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly unsure what to do with her hands. Would you like some coffee? I know it is almost 3 in the morning, but I have a feeling neither of us is going to sleep anytime soon. A small smile tugged at the corner of Nathan's mouth. Coffee would be perfect.
As Olivia moved to her small kitchen area, she felt Nathan's presence behind her, not crowding, but close enough that she could sense him there. Her hands trembled slightly as she measured coffee grounds, the familiar routine helping to ground her in this surreal situation. "How long have you known?" she asked, her back still to him. "About me, I mean." "Honestly?" Nathan leaned against the counter beside her, close enough now that she could catch the subtle scent of his cologne, mixed with something uniquely him. "I first really noticed you about 18 months ago. There was a team meeting where Peterson was shutting down ideas from the junior staff. You spoke up, defended a colleague's concept even though it meant contradicting a senior manager. You were professional, articulate, and completely unafraid to stand up for what you believed was right." Olivia remembered that meeting. She had been terrified afterward, certain she had made a huge mistake that day. "You made an impression," Nathan corrected. "After that, I found myself paying attention. I started reading the reports that came from your department, looking for your name. I began taking the stairs instead of the elevator, timing it so I might run into you." He laughed softly, a sound that did something warm and dangerous to her heart. "I became that person who finds excuses to walk past the 7th floor, hoping to catch a glimpse of you through the glass walls." Secrets and revelations. The coffee maker gurgled to life, filling the apartment with its rich aroma. Olivia turned to face Nathan fully, needing to see his expression as he spoke these impossible words. "That doesn't make sense," she said, though her heart desperately wanted it to. "You could have anyone, models, actresses, other CEOs. Why would you notice someone like me?" Nathan's expression shifted, something fierce and tender appearing in his eyes. "Someone like you? Olivia, do you have any idea how rare you are? In a world full of people who want something from me, who see the company or the money or the connections, you just see the work. You care about the ideas, about making something meaningful. You bring coffee to the security guard and remember his daughter's name. You stay late not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because you genuinely care about doing things right." He took a step closer, and Olivia's breath caught in her throat. "I have been to countless dinners with people who only talk about themselves. I've dated women who were more interested in being photographed with me than in knowing who I actually am. And then there's you, who never once asked me for anything, who probably would have been perfectly happy to never have my attention at all." "I wanted your attention," Olivia admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just never thought I could have it." The coffee maker beeped, signaling it was done, but neither of them moved. The moment felt too fragile, too important to break with something as mundane as pouring coffee. "How did you never say anything?" she asked, her back still to him. "If you felt this way for so long, why wait?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that made him seem more human, more vulnerable than the polished CEO she saw in board meetings. "Because I was terrified. I've built Sterling Innovations from nothing, maintained strict professional boundaries, never mixed business with personal feelings. I've seen too many companies torn apart by workplace relationships, too many people claiming impropriety or favoritism. I told myself that my feelings for you were inappropriate, that I needed to maintain distance." "But you're here now," Olivia pointed out, her heart racing. "Because you were brave enough to say something, even if it was accidental." Nathan smiled, and it transformed his entire face. "Because life is too short to let fear dictate every decision. Because maybe, just maybe, some rules are meant to be broken when the alternative is letting something extraordinary slip away." The morning after the night before. They talked until dawn broke over the Brooklyn skyline, sitting on her worn couch with steaming mugs of coffee that grew cold as they forgot to drink them. Nathan told her about building his company from a small startup in his college apartment, about the pressure of managing thousands of employees, about the loneliness that came with success when everyone saw him as a position rather than a person. Olivia shared her own story about growing up in a small town in Ohio, about her father who had worked in a factory for 30 years and taught her that honest work and genuine care for others mattered more.
Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Olivia stood in front of her closet, staring at her usual work clothes as if they belonged to a different person. In a way, they did. The woman who had worn these blazers and pencil skirts on Friday had been someone who kept her head down, who followed the rules, who never imagined her life could be anything other than ordinary. The weekend had transformed
everything. Saturday night's dinner with Nathan had stretched into hours at a quiet restaurant in Queens, where they had talked and laughed and discovered that their connection ran even deeper than either had anticipated. Sunday had brought a long walk through Central Park, their hands intertwined as they navigated not just the pathways, but the complicated reality of what came next. Now, standing in her apartment at 6:30 on Monday morning, Olivia faced the truth they had both been dancing around. There was no easy way forward. Nathan had been right about the complications, about the judgment they would face, about the professional minefield they were about to walk through. Her phone buzzed with a message from Nathan. "Good morning. I know today will be difficult, but I want you to know that I am with you every step of the way. We face this together." Olivia smiled, despite her nerves. She had learned so much about Nathan over the weekend. She had learned that he drank his coffee with 2 sugars, despite claiming to prefer it black. She had learned that he had a younger sister who taught elementary school in Boston, and that he called his mother every Sunday without fail. She had learned that beneath the polished CEO exterior was a man who cared deeply, who worried about his employees, who sometimes felt the crushing weight of responsibility for the thousands of lives that depended on Sterling Innovation's success. She had also learned that he kissed like he meant it, that his laugh was contagious, and that when he looked at her, she felt seen in a way she had never experienced before. Taking a deep breath, Olivia selected a burgundy blouse and black slacks, professional, but with enough confidence to remind herself that she belonged in that building, regardless of what anyone might say about her relationship with Nathan. She was good at her job. She had earned her place at Sterling Innovations through hard work and talent, not through any connection to the CEO. That truth would matter in the hours to come. Facing the storm. The Sterling Innovations building gleamed in the morning sunlight as Olivia approached. She had taken the subway as usual, had stopped at the corner coffee shop to buy her regular order, plus one for Marcus, the security guard who had worked the front desk for as long as she had been with the company. "Morning, Olivia," Marcus greeted her with his usual warm smile as she handed him his coffee. "You look different today. Good different." She managed to smile. "Just a good weekend, Marcus. How is your daughter doing? Is she excited about starting high school?" They chatted for a moment, the normalcy of it helping to settle her nerves. But as she walked toward the elevators, Olivia felt eyes on her. Or maybe she was just being paranoid. Maybe no one knew anything yet. That hope died when she reached the 7th floor. Jessica was waiting by Olivia's desk, her expression a mixture of concern and barely contained excitement. "My office, now," she whispered urgently, grabbing Olivia's arm and practically dragging her toward the small conference room they sometimes used for private conversations. Once the door closed behind them, Jessica turned on her with wide eyes. "Tell me the rumors are not true. Tell me you did not spend the weekend with Nathan Cross." Olivia's stomach dropped. "So it is true?" Jessica's voice rose an octave before she caught herself and lowered it to a fierce whisper. "Olivia, what were you thinking? The entire executive floor is buzzing. Apparently, Nathan's driver mentioned something to someone who mentioned it to someone else, and now half the company thinks you two are involved." "We are involved," Olivia said, quietly, surprising herself with how steady her voice sounded. "I know how it looks, Jessica. I know all the things people will say, but this is real. What Nathan and I have is real." Jessica sank into a chair, processing this information. She had been Olivia's closest friend since they both started at Sterling Innovations on the same day 3 years ago. They had navigated office politics together, celebrated promotions, and commiserated over difficult projects. If anyone would understand, it would be Jessica. "Tell me everything," Jessica finally said, "and I mean everything." The meeting that defines everything. At 10 o'clock, Olivia received an email requesting her presence in Nathan's office, not from Nathan himself, but from his executive assistant, Claire.
The message was professional and gave no indication of what the meeting might be about, but Olivia knew. The time had come to face the consequences of their choice. The executive floor was a different world from the rest of Sterling Innovations. Everything was sleeker, quieter, more expensive. Olivia had only been up here a few times, usually for major company announcements or the rare occasions when junior staff were invited to present ideas to senior leadership. Claire greeted her with a knowing look that held no judgment, only kindness. "He is waiting for you, Olivia, and for what it's worth, I think you're exactly what he needs." The words gave her courage as she knocked on Nathan's door. "Come in," his voice called, and she stepped into the space that commanded a view of the entire Manhattan skyline. Nathan stood by the window, his back to her, hands in his pockets. He wore a charcoal suit that fit him perfectly, every inch the powerful CEO. But when he turned to face her, his eyes